Breastfeeding, also known as nursing, is the feeding of babies and young children with milk from a woman's breast. Breastfeeding does not only have benefits for the baby, but mother likewise. Breast milk, the ideal food for infants, provides the perfect nutrition for babies. It has a nearly perfect mix of everything a baby needs to grow. Breast milk contains antibodies that help the baby fight off viruses and bacteria. Thus, nursing mothers are advised to do exclusive breastfeeding for at least the first 6 months of the child's life. Babies who are breastfed exclusively for the first 6 months have fewer ear infections, respiratory diseases, and sessions of diarrhea, as well as fewer hospitalization and trips to the doctor. In addition, breastfed babies are less likely to develop certain diseases in children, such as asthma, some cancers, diabetes, and sudden infant death syndrome. The main question we seek answers to from experts is there any link between type 1 diabetes in children and infant formula? It is quite evident that many parents are aware of the benefits of exclusive breastfeeding, as we found out at the antenatal department of the Dabraka Polyclinic in the Accra metropolitan area.
I think it is safe, easier, and the best, and it helps build the immune system of the baby.
I believe that the breast milk develops a child's brain and makes him grow healthy.
I do exclusive breastfeeding because I hear it helps the child to grow with strong bones.
Because she followed the procedure. She have to give, I think, from 0 to 6 months. So she have to follow that procedure. That's why she give.
So that the child will grow healthy.
Why should nursing mothers feed their infants exclusively with breast milk?
When the child is born, from day one, the immune system is not strong or it's not grown. So this breast milk has ingredients in it that could strengthen the immune system for the child's immune system or the baby's immune system to grow, start fighting against diseases. So that is why mothers should feed their children exclusively for 6 months.
Breastfeeding is introduction of human milk to babies. Now when you do exclusive breastfeeding, it's just giving breast milk to the baby for the first 6 months of the baby's life, and then you continue with other foods 2 years and beyond.
What are the benefits of breast milk to infants?
It maintains a healthy body weight compared to infants' formula. Well, you see that when you feed these infant formula, the babies, they become obese. The breast milk contains whey, and whey, babies digest it very faster as compared to a casein, which is the main protein in the infants. And the babies, they find it difficult to digest casein. All the needed nutrients are found from the breast milk.
Infants benefit a lot from the breast milk because the breast milk contains calcium, it contains magnesium, and then it contains zinc. And the zinc comes even after the baby is born. Once you are feeding the child with the breast milk, the zinc develops the brain, boosts the immune system, and the magnesium and the calcium with the vitamin D strengthens the bone of the child. So that's where the child picks his or her strength from. So the breast milk is highly beneficial, and it also hydrates the child.
It has an enzyme that digests the fat of the baby so that the baby don't have any problems. And then as the baby is born, the baby hasn't got any immunity. The breast milk is the only thing that gives the baby the immunity until the baby is able to produce its own antibodies to provide its immunity, that is soldiers to fight for the baby.
What are the benefits of breastfeeding to mothers?
As the mother breastfeeds the baby, it prevents the mother is able to prevent ovulation, that is release of the egg. And when that happens, there will be no pregnancy. So the mother is able to enjoy their life until she plans for the next pregnancy. And then when the mother breastfeeds the baby, it is so easy. I mean, she doesn't need to plan for any bottles, any other feeds. It's just a ready-made food for the baby.
As the baby continues to suck the breast milk, the mother also gets normal body weight. Excessive breastfeeding is the best family planning method.
According to the American Diabetes Association, to develop type 1 diabetes, in most cases, People need to inherit risk factors from both parents. Is that how children develop type 1 diabetes?
For the type 1 diabetes, it is an autoimmune disease. It is the body fighting itself. The real cause of the disease is not known, but it is believed that there are risk factors. And one of the risk factors is when a parent or both parents happen to have type 1 diabetes, there is the likelihood that the infant can get it, or even a sibling has it, there will be a likelihood that the infant can get it. There are various types of infant formulas. We have the milk-based, we have the soya, and then we have the special formulations. Now, the milk and then the soya-based especially, they are complex proteins which needs to be broken down to the level that the baby can make use of it. Infant formulas, manufacturers want to make money. So if they are not able to break down this complex protein to the level that the baby can use, and it is given to the baby like that, the baby will take it, is not able to digest it, and it can trigger the immune system. And then the body can attack itself, and the baby can have the type 1 diabetes.
A child inheriting diabetes or being the risk factor from the parent, it normally comes from the mother. During pregnancy, we have something we call gestational diabetes. When the sugar rises and it is not properly controlled, then the child can pick it from the mother. That's the type 1 diabetes. But with the infant formula, feeding your child with an infant formula, the diabetes will not set once the child is coming up as a child growing up. But in future, it's a higher risk in future rather than it setting it now. But the only thing that could make the child, or that the child will be risk of having diabetes in future if the child is not being fed with the infant formula, is how the father was eating or how the mother was eating. Then the father was eating in this way, then the sugar escalated. When the child is coming up and the child starts eating that way, so in future the child will suffer from diabetes. But if the child disease from that kind of food taken, no, there's nothing like genetic over there.
These are some of the answers nursing mothers gave when they were asked about knowledge of children developing type 1 diabetes as a result of feeding them with infant formula.
All I know is diabetes is a generational thing. Sometimes you can generate it from the family or all that, but I don't know whether the formula also does that.
It's true, and I'm aware that diabetes exists. Therefore, if you take good care of your child, he will not develop diabetes.
I am not informed that if I feed my son with infant formula, he might develop diabetes.
I learned that your child can develop diabetes if you feed her on infant formula. Therefore, you need to protect your child by doing the right thing for her in order to prevent her from future health challenges.
Are all infants at risk of developing type 1 diabetes because they are fed on infant formula?
Not all. All the complications associated with the type 1 diabetes, they may not get it at the initial stage. But as time goes on, somebody develop vision impairment, obesity, hypertension. Today you see 6-year-old girl, look at the stomach as if she's pregnant. It's because of what they've been eating.
When the child is being fed, the child is not having any history of diabetes from the mother. He's not taking anything, because once the gestational diabetes comes with the mother passed it to the fetus. But the child came out without any risk factor of diabetes. Then now that the child is being fed with the infant formula, then the child is at risk in future. Yes, and that can set out from 7 years and above.
Are all infants who are fed on plant formula still at risk at developing type 1 diabetes?
If anything, plant-based infant formulas should be the best. We know that plant foods are the best. But the plant foods have complex proteins. And therefore, it is not very good to give them those things early in life like that. So you're supposed to give it to them sometimes after 6 months or after 1 year.
If you have processed it for longer shelves and you add a chemical to it, you cannot call it plant formula.
From the plant-based formula, the ingredients in the plant-based, because it's not from the dairy, because with the dairy there are other chemicals added for the formulation, but with the plant formulation, it is quite safe for the children than that of the dairy.
Do these infant formula contain certain substances that are dangerous to the health of infants?
Yes and no. There are procedures to the manufacture of these infant formulas. Now, if the procedure is followed accordingly, because we said that there are certain things that you have to bring it down to the level that the baby can use. So if I think that process would take a lot of money from me if I'm a manufacturer and I don't follow the procedure, some of these things I just put it in like that and it can affect the baby. For example, we can have we talk about the soya. We have certain oils that we add to the milk, like the palm oil. When you put the palm oil in the baby formula, it goes and it reacts with calcium in the body, and they form soaps in the intestines of the baby. And these soaps will make the baby pass hard stools, and it can be a problem for the child. And also some of the preservatives and additives that we add to the food, some of them, the amounts that they're supposed to be at, they just put in just anything, and then it also can go and trigger the immune system, which can be dangerous to the child. We know that we have to put in certain minerals, for example, aluminium, but they put in too much. They don't follow the procedure because maybe some of them, when you add, they think that, and the mother will read and you have this value, this one is okay, but it is not the standard. So yes, when some of these things are not checked, it becomes dangerous to the health of the child.
A typical example is the casing, because the casing, they are adhesive, meant for paints. Super glue contains casing, and so you can imagine this casing have been added to infant formula, and at points when you keep it for some time, you see that it smells bad. And when casing comes to the system, it makes digestion very difficult. And casing is the main product of infant formula. Very devastating chemical when it is found in the infant formula. It makes them obese, big bloat. And then you see sometimes a lot of babies, they snore in the night because the system could not digest this casing found in the breast milk. So 3-6 months, baby, you see them snoring because the mother has been feeding them on infant formula, and as a result of the chemical casing found in the baby formula, will also have some kind of other effects on their health.
They contain a lot of dangerous substances, which is not good for the system of the children. For instance, this amino acid is artificial amino acid, which is not good for the infants.
What are the effects of infant formula on infants?
The infant formula contains an amino acid, which is a protein that comes into the child. Meanwhile, the child's prostate gland, if it's a male, produces similar amino acid. So with that artificial amino acid, it destroys the gland of the child, which in future the child can suffer from infertility and then other prostate-related issues. Secondly, it goes in there to get the child prone to diabetes in future. Even if not now, in future, the child will suffer from diabetes because it's highly refined product that contains a lot of chemicals that is not properly digested in the system of the child. Because at that time, the child has very slim intestine. That's the digestive sector. The small intestine is very small, so it cannot digest highly formulated chemicals.
Babies, they find it difficult to digest the casing in the baby formula or the infant formula. And as a result, you see them become obese, and later in life they will develop diabetes, any type at all, because the baby started feeding on sugar at younger ages. And that's why these days we see, especially these young girls, by 7-8 years, we see them menstruating because of this component, some of the components in the baby formula. Two, the baby formula babies, according to a lot of research, later they develop joint pains because this casing in the baby formula food mimics the calcium.
Can nursing mothers combine feeding their babies with breast milk and infant formula as they are not satisfied when they are fed on only breast milk?
The breast milk is enough for the infant, especially the first 6 months of life. Now, the breast milk, about 8 to 20 mils, almost 2 of the sachet water is produced a day. And the infant tummy is just the feast of the baby. So it is enough for the baby to take this amount.
The breast milk is safer for the child than the infant. Once the child is taking breast milk, try and then feed your child with the breast milk. That could make the child grow with a strength, and the brain, everything will develop for the child. But if you add infant milk to the breast milk, you are endangering the life of the child. So it is not good at all.
Combination of breast milk and infant formula, they don't match. They don't. Let me give one example. The amount of sugar in the breast and that of baby formula are not the same. So you have exposed your baby to 0.1 sugar level in the breast. Then you are going to feed the same baby with the infant formula 0.5. You can see that the amount of sugar from the breast and the amount of sugar from the infant are not the same. So the sugar in the baby's body has been doubled. Breast milk and baby formula should not be combined to feed babies.
What can nursing mothers whose infants refuse to feed on breast milk do to get them to do so?
If the baby is refusing to feed on the breast milk, what you can do, you have to find out what is causing the baby not to feed on the breast milk, because it is there. The baby might be having some pains, especially teething pains. So you wouldn't feel comfortable. When they are teething, there's this bitter taste in their mouth. Okay, so you wouldn't find the milk to be very pleasant. You wouldn't want to take the milk. So in this instance, you can talk to your midwife or your physician. You have a lot of teething mixtures and gels, which it can be put in the baby's mouth, and it can kind of numb the mouth, and then you'll be able to breastfeed on the breast milk. Sometimes to distraction, there is too much over there. You have to get some darker room where the baby wouldn't be seeing anything to distract the baby. Sometimes you have to do skin to skin. You are there, you can just take off your dress with the baby. Your baby is lying on you. It will just be playing on you, feeling so comfortable. We look at the breast, and then the baby will be what? Will be feeding. So there are so many things that you have to do when the baby is refusing the feed. Sometimes even our perfumes and the rest that we use, the babies, sometimes they get to know their mothers by their scent. So sometimes you change your perfume, or even the change in the breast milk itself. Sometimes medications that you have started taking, there will be some changes in the breast milk, and the child wouldn't want that kind of taste, and the child will not take the breast milk. If your child is refusing feed, find out what is the cause. Sometimes it is no cause. It is just restless. The child is just tired. You can take the child out for some calm, and then the child will be okay.
One of the reasons for babies ignoring their parents' breast milk is as a result of what they eat. Because you eat some amount of different kinds of food, and the breast milk will process it. So at a point when the baby tastes the breast milk, this is different. Typical example, the styrofoam container, there is a chemical called styrene. When a nursing mother eats from takeaway pack, let's put it that way, it affects the breast milk and it changes the taste. The babies, they are very sharp. They are used to unique taste of a breast milk. So when the breast milk is changed, then the baby will reject the breast milk. Because the parents were just eating our palm nut soup, granite, banku, and fufu. Today, somebody will eat granite soup in the morning. In the afternoon, she go and take energy drink. In the evening, different food. So as the breast milk is being processed, the taste keeps on changing. So the baby will now find it difficult to recognize which one is the mother's milk. And that's why they reject it. Some of the babies, their tongue and the mouth is very small. And so when you have a bigger nipple, that is where the problem is. And because the baby cannot open the mouth wider, they reject it. And how even the nursing mothers also hold the breast. You see, especially those they have bigger breast, around the nipple, if you allow the contact to touch the entrance of the nose, the baby will reject it because the baby cannot breathe well. So once you allow the space to get closer to the end of the nose, because the baby cannot breathe well, he'll be rejecting. So once he begins to notice that anytime the mother gives the breast closer to the nose, then the baby sees as a danger, so he will reject the breast milk.
Some of the infants, they don't want to take direct from the breast. If it should be in a feeding glass bottle, the child will take it. But the danger aspect over there too is don't put the breast milk down for a long period of time. If you want to feed your child that way, you wash the breast a little from the nipple surround the nipple. You wash it, disinfect it clearly before you suck the breast milk out. Then give it to the child instantly. Everything should get finished at that particular time. You wash the feeding bottle or the feeding glass bottle, leave it there. Don't keep it there for a long time. It is not good.
What should infants whose mothers cannot breastfeed them due to certain health challenges such as hepatitis or HIV, as well as those who have lost their mothers, be fed on?
All right, that was why there was this introduction of baby formula. For that one, because the baby is immature or the system is not grown to eat fufu and pesi, bengu, akpele, aprapransa, they only have to rely on the infants under a supervision of a healthcare provider. Let me insist on that, because a lot of parents or nursing mothers, they give wrong dosage to their babies. Because when you take the cap on in the baby formula, there is a measurement and how to meet it, and the amount of water. So here is the case. People just go, she cannot read, he has not been trained, just any amount of water, he adds up and he feeds him. He'll be exposing the baby at breast. Children who have been feeding on baby formula as a result of health complications or their mother being not alive, as soon as the baby starts to eat, this is our traditional food, let's do away. Because there is too much of chemical accumulation into the system. But the mistake is that as the baby starts to eat solid food or our traditional food, then we still continue to give them chemicalized food. From baby formula, he's now being exposed to something like conflict, instant noodles, milk and what have you. You see, it's a continuation of what were in the formula. But the point when the child starts to eat, then we break it so that the amount of chemical consumption, when you expose the baby to our traditional food, then it will gradually be cleared. But unfortunately, it has become a continuation from the infant. These are our processed food, like infant formula. They contain some kind of chemical for preservation. Good. Now, once the child is grown, it has started eating, the child has started eating, then you feed your child with the same processed food. You are continuing. So at the point when the child starts eating, let's break that and then introduce our traditional food to it. Then that little will be cleared.
Gone are the days that we used to give our babies when we cannot breastfeed, maybe in the absence of the mother, maybe death or something that we cannot breastfeed the baby, we get the wetness, what we call the wetness, where you let other relation who is breastfeeding already feed your child. But with this age, with this era of diseases and all that, you can't depend on that one again. And once again, some of these conditions that were preventing mothers from breastfeeding their babies, so now things have been done about it. For example, if you have HIV, it doesn't prevent you from feeding your child with the breast milk. Right now, when you have HIV, there are drugs that are given to the mothers and then even the baby immediately after birth. Then you can comfortably go on and breastfeed your child up to 1 year. With hepatitis B, there are vaccines that you give to your child. And when the child is given that vaccine, you can comfortably go on and then feed your child. But in the absence of, for example, death of the mother, where the breast milk is not there, you have to look for infant formulas, and you have to talk to your midwife or your physician to help you choose the very best at that very tender age, so that all the things that the baby needs to get from the breast milk, you can equally get it from the infant formula, the best one, the best one that has been produced. And then I'm sure the child will be able to thrive and grow as it should.
Because of these health conditions, the mother cannot breastfeed the child. So over there, the infant formula can be given to the child. But in future, this child should be detoxified by giving good product that could take care of the risk of becoming diabetic.
Breastfeeding is the best, especially exclusive breastfeeding, the first 6 months of the child's life. Make sure that you do the exclusive breastfeeding. As soon as you give birth, try to initiate breastfeeding. And that one is going to help you, the mother and then the child, to come out of a lot of problems that you would have encountered if you don't do the breastfeeding. If you are a parent and you know that you have ever had or you are a diabetic patient, try and run the various lab tests. We have genetic markers for your child so that early enough you will know if your child is prone to having type 1 diabetes or not, so that you take the necessary steps to help that child live with it for the rest of his life, so that the child can live the best out of his or her life. And we are saying that if you ever have to choose infant formulas, go in for the very best. Make sure that you get the right bottles, the right sterilizing facilities, so that your child is not prone to any form of disease conditions, especially type 1 diabetes.
What I want to urge all mothers to do is try as much as possible, feed your child exclusively for the 6 months. It strengthens the child, develop the brain, and the child is always, the immune system is grown to protect the child from any infection that want to invade, or any foreign invader into the system. With that, you see your child growing up healthy.
Nursing mothers should stick to exclusive breastfeeding from the breast milk, not any other one. With this, will keep their babies very, very healthy.